I am always ready and sometimes never ready for live, but today I'm going live a little bit later. I had some appointments that I had to take care of, got those knocked out, got those done, and here we are. And so today I'm going to talk about your brand message and how you can get so clear and so focused on that that your sales start to skyrocket, your sales start to increase, and why that's important. And first, as always, I'm going to start with a song. This song has to do with the message that we're going to talk about. So it's called Something Just Like This. I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, Spider-Man's control. Oh, I messed up. Of course I did. Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts, Spider-Man's control, and Batman and his fist. And clearly I don't see myself up on that list. She said, where you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with superhuman gifts, a superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can miss. I want something just like this. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. I want something just like this. So the reason I picked that song, and guys, if you're tuning in live, let me know down below. If you're watching this on the replay later, let me know, replay down below, hashtag replay. But tell me, you guys, the reason why I chose that song is because there's somebody out there. You have a mission, you have a brand, you have something important that you're doing with your business. Your business is not just about you making money. Your business is not just about like fixing some problem for somebody. You're doing something that changes somebody's life. If you had a business where you were cleaning houses, oh my gosh, like I need a house cleaner so bad. That's something I'm looking at hiring so soon. But if you're cleaning somebody's houses, you're taking stress out of people's life. If you have a business where you're mowing people's lawns, you're taking the stress of having to take care of that themselves away from them. If you have a business in sales where you're serving other people, there's so much value that you have to bring. And so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, because your brand message at the core of it is so freaking important. And I started this with a song while I wait for people to hop on. You guys, if you're hopping on, I feed off of the comments. I feed off of your energy. So drop a comment down below. Let me know you're hopping on. I have a question for you today. And the question is, what is your business, and does your business already have a message? Does your brand already have a message? So drop that down in the comments below. Let me know, what is your business and does it already have a message? If so, drop the message down. If it doesn't, you can just say, no, it doesn't have a message. But that being said, we're going to jump right into this. I want to see you guys succeed. I want to see you guys win. I've been blessed by so many people in my life that I'm ready to give back to you. I'm ready to pass that on and to just be a vessel. As I'm being poured into, I can pour out to you guys. So the very first point that I want to talk about, I want to bring up a message that I heard, a verse that I heard that is so super important. And it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And that is so freaking important. Like, you have no idea. I have put so many things up on a vision board. I have put so many things up, just like going over my vision daily. And I'm actually starting to see those realized in my life, because whatever you focus on is what you're going to see manifest. So, your vision is going to transform your brand message. So whatever your vision is for your business, like if you're setting visions and goals for yourself and you're not doing it for your business, man, you got to start that today, because your vision shapes the way that you carry yourself in your business. It shapes the way that you talk to people, that you sell, that you help control what happens after you get the sale, what happens with your customers and your clients. Your vision shapes all of that. So if you're tuning in live, drop it down in the comments below. Let me know. I'm going live a little bit later tonight, so we'll see how many people actually tune in while we're doing this. The very first thing is, where there is no vision, the people perish. And I want to share a really fun story real quick about that, because years and years and years ago, before I knew anything about setting a vision, before I knew anything about how to like manifest things into your life, because whatever you focus on is what you see more of. Whatever you focus on is what you find more of. Whatever you focus on is what you get in your life. So negative, you get negative. Focus on positive, you get positive. I've talked about that before, right? But years and years ago, before I really understood it, I've always been a journaler. I've always been somebody who writes their notes down and everything. And I wrote down out a list of what I wanted in my husband. And it's so funny because I wrote down two separate lists and they were both a little bit different. You know, in one I saw this, you know, Caucasian male. And then in another one, I was like, ooh, I want somebody with dark skin. And I know that's silly. It's silly. Those are completely on the outside things. But I talked about personality. I talked about hobbies. And it seemed like they were two very different people. And it's so funny. I had this vision of these two very different people when I was younger, these two different lists that I wrote a couple years apart. And when I met my husband a few years later, he met every single thing on my list, on both lists, which is crazy because it sounded like two completely different people. But I'm telling you, like, get the vision of what you want in your business. Get the vision of what you want in your life. My husband actually had a list as well, and his was 4 pages long, and I met every single criteria on that list. He actually gave it to me as a gift one time. And it's like your vision is so freaking important. So if you're tuning in live, drop down in the comments below, what is your business? And does your business already have a brand message? Do you already have a message? Do you already have a slogan? Do you already have something tied to your business that makes your business go a little bit beyond just, you know, I fixed this one solution? So drop that down in the comments below. I don't see any comments yet. So the first thing that I said, where there is no vision, the people perish. And to explain that a little bit better, you imagine you have no vision for what you're going to do on, say, a Saturday. What happens that day? You wake up, you kind of bum around, you putter in the kitchen, maybe you grab something to eat or drink first thing in the morning, but everything goes a little bit slower. Maybe you decide to do something, maybe you don't. Maybe you go out and hang out with somebody, maybe you don't. I mean, like, things don't really happen. But think about, like, during the work week, when you actually set some criteria for yourself, all of a sudden you're getting things accomplished. And so over time, when you stretch that out and you look like, where's my business going? Where are my sales going? What are my projections over the next quarter, over the next 6 months, over the next year, over the next 5 years? When you start actually having a vision for the future, all of a sudden your actions that you take shift because you realize what the priorities are. You realize what the importance is. So having a vision is so freaking important for your business. So we're talking about the number one way to get clear on your brand message that is going to just absolutely knock your sales out of the park. So again, if you're tuning in live, drop down below, what is your business? Let me know. Also, number 2 is write the vision and make it plain upon tablets. This is another verse. And so the first one was where there is no vision, the people perish. And then there's another one that talks about writing the vision and making it plain. How important is it for you to write it down? Because when you put things in your mind and you're just like, oh, I'll remember that, I don't have to write it down, and you only have it up here, your mind has a tendency to be moved by the things around it. And if you're not consciously controlling what you're thinking on and controlling what you're focusing on, then you're going to be moved by everything that happens throughout your day. So if something bad happens, all of a sudden your vision shifts if you don't have that vision written down in front of you and you don't keep reminding yourself of what your vision is. Like, your vision is so freaking powerful for your brand message. So I wanted to bring up the 6 basic human needs because this is going to help you with getting really, really clear on your brand message. So the 6 basic human needs is something that Tony Robbins talks about a lot. And I really like the way that he talks about it because this is something that your brand message should absolutely cover. And you should go through these and think about, you know, what needs is my brand actually meeting for people? When I bring them a solution with my products, services, my offer, what is that meeting for people? So the 6 basic human needs from Tony Robbins, number 1 is certainty. People want to feel certain. They want to have that stability. You know, that's why people do a nighttime routine. That's why people do a morning routine, is because they want that certainty. Number 2, people want uncertainty. They need things to not be exactly the same all the time. They need some kind of excitement and activity, some kind of adventure to enjoy. Now, granted, there's things that are bad that are uncertain. Like this last year, I didn't view the stuff that happened with my son to be an uncertain thing that I really enjoyed. But a lot of good things came out of that in spite of it. So number 3 is significance. People want to be valued. People want to feel significant. So how does your brand help people feel that certainty? How does it make them feel stable? How does it give them excitement and give them that little bit of uncertainty? Like they're excited. When we were doing remodels with our construction business years ago, people were excited by what the possibilities were, what the result was. And it gave them a little bit of that uncertainty because even though they kind of had a vision for it, they couldn't see it in reality. And so we were able to make their vision, their dreams a reality. And it was something that was really exciting for people. So what in your brand makes people feel significant? That's number 3. If you're tuning in live, drop a comment down below. So number 4 is love and connection. And how would your brand help people feel connected? You know, that's one of the biggest things that I do right now is I'm helping people with their Facebook group communities, and we're building up an actual community. We're not just doing sales because we are doing sales, and we're not just doing high engagement because we are doing that. We're building up a highly engaged community of people who love to connect, who love to be there, who love to raise their hand and say, you know, yes, that's for me. How can I buy? But the idea is that people want love and connection. People want significance. People want uncertainty, and people want certainty. So number 5 in the 6 basic human needs is growth. People need to know that they're not just going to be where they're at forever. They want to grow. They want to learn. They want to get better at something. It's what actually drives us to get up in the morning and go do the things that we love, like our hobbies and whatnot. And number 6 is contribution. So people want to feel like they're contributing to something else. So some of the best brands out there, they actually contribute a portion of their profits to some kind of nonprofit organization or some kind of ministry somewhere. And if you can meet more than one of those 6 basic human needs, your brand is going to skyrocket. So here in a minute, I'm going to give you guys an action step that it's going to just kind of charge your energy, kind of get you thinking about what your brand message is. That's going to help you shape the way that you show up in your business, the way that you show up on your sales calls, the way that you show up when you're meeting with your clients. So number 3, well, let me recap real quick. Number 1 is you need to have a vision, because where there is no vision, the people perish. Number 2 is you need to write the vision and make it really clear, crystal clear and plain. It needs to be completely focused. Number 3 is the second half of that verse. It says, write the vision and make it plain upon tablets so that he who reads it can run with it. Because as soon as you can get that brand message extremely clear, now people are going to be able to run with it. So what that means is that when you're actually meeting those 6 basic human needs, people feel that connection. They feel that contribution, they feel the growth, they feel the uncertainty, they feel the certainty in all the ways that they need it. They feel the significance in the way that they need it. And then they can actually take your brand and they're going to be ready to share it with other people. They're going to be ready to talk about it in their off time. It's like, how cool is it to think that you're being talked about right now in rooms that you haven't even entered before? It's so cool to think about that. But that's what your brand message and being clear on your brand message does for you. So I wanted to bring up how we live in a world of abundance. So there's a lot of people out there who might have a very similar business to what you're doing. And I have a little story here. I want to remind you guys that on Facebook, there are 2.6 billion people. So if you think that you can't sell because nobody's buying right now, you are dead wrong. If you think that you've already capped out your market and that there's not more out there for you, you are absolutely wrong on that. I'm calling you out. You live in this amazing world of abundance. And in this world of 2.6 billion users just on Facebook, where we're at right now, you have the ability to increase your sales. You have the ability to move beyond that. So there was a friend that I had a few years back, and I won't call her out. I won't say her name right now, but she was talking to me one day, and I was telling her this like really cool message that I had heard. And I was just literally regurgitating what I heard Tony Robbins talk about. And she looked at me and she's like, oh my gosh, that's so good. You should be up on stages speaking that. And I was like, this is literally what Tony Robbins said. Like, I appreciate the sentiment, but this is literally, and she's just like, well, she's like, I don't really like him. I don't receive from him. And this is one of the things, is that just because you offer the exact same thing as somebody else, just because you have competition, doesn't mean that your competition can reach the people that you can reach. Your brand message, your voice, the way that you show up, the way that you help people is different than anybody else. And when you actually show up for your target market, you will reach them in a different way than anyone else can. And they will hear from you what they won't hear from somebody else, what they can't hear from somebody else, just because they don't resonate with them, but they resonate with you. So if you're tuning in live, drop down in the comments, what is your business? What is your industry? What is your business? And does your brand have a message? Does your business have a message? So we're going to jump into the action step. I talked a little bit about how and why you should get clear on your brand message, but we're going to jump into the action step right now. So what you're going to do is, in 5 words or less, you're going to write down who you serve and what result they get. So if you are tuning in live, drop that down in the comments below. If you're watching this on the replay, drop it in the comments below. This exercise is so helpful for just getting you clear on your brand message. So who do you serve and what result do they get? And do it in 5 words or less. Can you do that? This is a challenge. Can you do that in 5 words or less? So yeah, I guess I'm gonna go live shorter tonight. I went live kind of late. But you guys, you're so valuable. You're so important. You're so needed. And there's gonna be days that you wake up and you don't feel like showing up. There's gonna be days that you don't want to get to work, that you don't want to do it. And it's not because you're not meant to do what you're doing. If you are doing your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner and you started pursuing your passion, there will be days that you don't feel very passionate about it. And it is your vision, it is your brand message that's at the core of it, the why behind the what, that is going to drive you forward on those days when you really don't feel like showing up. And so it is so freaking important. How do you show up on those days when you feel bad? Like, how do you keep going? How do you stay resilient in your business? How do you make those sales when you just aren't feeling it, when you aren't feeling good in that moment? And it's that message, it's that brand message, it's that vision behind what you're doing. You have to have that in front of you. It's like you have to take a moment to pause. Like I was reading in this book, it's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and there's a little part where he talked about that when insurance companies did a study, they found that if people were angry from something that happened in the home or something that happened at their job, they were more likely to get into car accidents. And it's exactly the same when you go to sell. If you have had something happen that day and you've gotten angry, or you've had some kind of tiff or conversation or argument, or something at home, something online, something at work, it doesn't matter. If you've had something, like even a bad dream can just put you off to where all of a sudden you can't focus. But if you have that vision, if you keep that vision in front of you and you remind yourself and you take a few minutes to just breathe and remind yourself of the vision, remind yourself of why you're doing this, remind yourself who you serve, what results you're getting, remind yourself of the reason why you're doing this for people. That's going to help you get in the right mindset so that when you do go to sell, you're coming at it from the right heart, because however you're thinking in your subconscious is going to change the way you shape your words. It's going to change the way you show up for people. It's going to change the way that you touch others' lives. So, I got to share that, I love what I do. I definitely help people monetize and we increase sales. I help people with building a highly engaged Facebook group community. But the best thing, one of my favorite things that I help people do is we take their brand and we turn it into a movement. So your brand message is one of the most important things you'll ever work on. And I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds ridiculous and it sounds like it doesn't make that big of an impact, but holy cow, you would not believe, like, the people that I'm watching who are taking their brand and turning it into a movement, like, they're just impacting lives. They're changing the world around them. They're making a difference in a way that I've never seen before. And I'm just so excited to be a tiny part of that. My last question, I did ask, if you have a business, share what the business is down in the comments below. And if people were commenting, it did not show me comments today. I tried looking and I tried scrolling and it didn't work for me today. But the last question I have is, does your brand have the potential to be a movement? Is that something that you could see? Does your brand have the potential to be a movement? It's like a lot of times people will think, well, how would a lawn mowing business do that? How would a graphic designer do that? How would somebody who works in sales do that? How would my business actually become a movement? And you go back to point number two that I talked about today, and you listen to that again. How could your brand become a movement? So you guys, I don't see any comments. Did I just miss them today? It's not coming up on here. So I just want to say thank you. I really love when you guys hop on here with me. I really appreciate you guys. If you watch this on the live, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I sang at the beginning like I always do. And if you guys have any questions, you can always drop them down in the comments below. The last couple weeks, I talked about algorithms and I talked about Facebook profile and how to do that. And I talked about how to hack the algorithm on your profile and on your Facebook page and in your Facebook group. I talked a little bit about that. I've shared about a lot of different things over the last few weeks. So if you guys have a certain topic that you'd like me to come back and talk to you about next time, let me know down in the comments below or shoot me a message and I will bring it up next time. And that being said, I'm going to check real quick and just see if there was anything on actual Facebook that loaded. Sometimes on the computer it's silly. Yep, I don't see anything. So cool. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I will talk to you again next Tuesday, and I'm going to start going live earlier in the day. So I will catch you earlier in the day next Tuesday.